hello, hi. Today with
Sure.
me is Heidi Sichien, who is
Mhm.
the Chief People Officer at Philips. And it's lovely to have you here in Dubai. And you're here at Arab Health.
Correct.
Uh, Before we start, actually, how's the experience so far for you?
Experience is amazing. I always love to come in growth markets
Mm,
because I love the energy. So
right.
I was with the teams on a pre-congress event on Sunday. Then yesterday we went indeed to the booths at Arab Health, and it's really buzzing. So a lot of customers, a lot of people, a lot of excitement on our propositions from a healthcare perspective. So yeah, really nice. And
Amazing.
this afternoon, I'm going to meet my HR team here. So obviously, I was around with my leader of Meta, which is Dina Azam, but going this afternoon meeting with the teams, and tonight again with customers. So pretty
Lovely.
packed agenda, but amazing to be here. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much for your time. And I would like to ask, you know, we're going to talk about technology and diversity. And I want to understand how important is diversity in health technology, in the health technology sector, actually.
Yeah. Yesterday, I was hosting a panel here in Dubai as well with all female leaders from a health tech or healthcare space. And we had a very rich conversation on the importance of taking all perspectives and especially becoming patient-centric. So the innovation, what we are about, is not about the technology only, but it's with an objective to become patient-centric. And let me give an example. A proposition which we are looking at is our monitoring. We are very strong in monitoring. But if you look at a monitoring device, for example, in an ICU, then those are a lot of sounds and very intense sounds. And a patient there needs to recover.
Mhm.
But when he or she has all the time beeps, that's not bringing the intensity or the right experience to recover. So what our teams did, and that's what I mean with the importance of diversity, not only gender, but as well diversity of experience, they engaged with deep sound technicians. So not at all healthcare. Like,
Mhm.
okay, where can you help us with making indeed the signals less harsh? And
Mhm.
that's what we are going to propose. And I have honestly a very touching patient story who is now so passionate to change that. But we had 2 years ago a mother who came to our leadership in the business, and she was at the bedside of her child in an ICU for days.
Oh,
And because she was monitoring her child, she was obviously not sleeping. So she was extremely tired. And she was asking the nurse at the ICU, said, look, can you please make it less harsh and slow some things down? So what they did, they slowed down and they turned down the volume of the monitoring.
right.
And her child passed away that night.
Oh, that's horrible.
This is an extreme, horrible example, but what I mean with this is the importance still of signaling, but as well the care of the patient. And that's why I'm saying the importance of diversity in healthcare, because we have been bringing healthcare solutions from a better image quality, a better monitoring, but it's not only that, it's as well how the persona, being the patient in the environment, can obviously make sure that he is not a patient to start with, but when he or she is a patient, that we make the experience fully there to be fully recovered fast.
Right.
And,
What
and therefore you need diversity. Therefore you don't need only the technical better. You need the diversity to be people-centric. Yeah.
I want to go back a little bit, perhaps ask you, could you define diversity in your sector?
So diversity in my sector is all elements. So it starts obviously with the things you see above the waterline, which is obviously gender, nationalities, um, experiences. So we are basically measuring that ethnicities. So a lot of experience there. Then the generations. But when we go a little bit deeper, we really look at critical experience and capabilities we need. So then diversity is obviously as well bringing capabilities in which we are not having. Like, for example, the experience I gave on sound technicians, or working together with, we have an engagement with Bill Gates and Melinda on how to make sure that we have our propositions much more tuned to telehealth and off-site health propositions, so that midwives can do the ultrasounds themselves. So that's what we mean with diversity. It's very active on gender.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of female representation in the workplace, and we're measuring and monitoring that very, very clear, but it goes beyond.
Right. And how can companies like yours actually make sure that they are diverse?
We are having tailored programs related to that. So we
Mm-hmm.
have diversity and inclusion, the top leader in our top leadership team. We have a council with business leaders, very, very active, who are meeting regularly, like how can we tune the initiatives we have to the business and vice versa to the people. And this is paying off because we won a couple of prizes and we are going higher up in Forbes, in Financial Times, in terms of our position on how we go to market. And when I zoom in on this region, what we did as well is being very clear on our direction and then being ahead of regulation. So maternity leaves, nursing rooms. And now I'm zooming in on the female and the young mothers returning into the workplace, but being ahead on sometimes regulations and influencing that. So that's what we do. So we are trailblazing in a couple of areas in that perspective. Look, our belief is that if you want to improve lives, we have to look at our own people.
Right.
That's yeah, the propositions we are having. Yeah.
It is it's very important actually. But while you're speaking, I'm thinking, but because I have family who works in healthcare, so I'm thinking that means you move a lot of the talent pool around, right? How do you maneuver that?
So then we come indeed to succession planning,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not kind of a checkers game. It's really a chess game.
Mm-hmm.
And moving talent around. And I had, by the way, this morning breakfast with one of our business leaders here in Dubai on how he can make sure that he is building up the right capabilities. So we are going a couple of years out. So we look at our funnels, and basically we have three areas we look at. We look at building and grooming up talent in a certain country or area. So then we move them around in different places and experiences they need. Then we have a talent engine who looks at, for example, a much more functional growth. For example, in supply chain, there is a talent partner looking at the supply chain capabilities globally. And then there is a third pillar who looks much more at the top leadership position, but as well the long funnel out of 10 years out on who is grooming up to, for example, a global business leader unit role or a regional leader leading the meta region, as an example. So three swim lanes who work on clear propositions, but obviously exchange as well talent in that space. So we are pretty strategic in that lens, and we are as well clear. Look, for example, on customer facing roles, there you want the key capability is obviously the trust and the engagement with your customer. So there you would take the ideal time of moving a little bit longer, because you don't want to give the experience to your customers like, oh, I just built up a relationship and he or she is moving already. There you take indeed a longer time. But if you are in a more business development strategic role, you need the new perspectives and the new ideas, you need the diversity. So that could be shorter stints where you bring then those people later into another more customer facing role. So it's depending on the role profiles on how we go about this. And we monitor this, like if people are up for a new role, then this is beeping up in our systems. And then we are planning the moves with those people based on the roles which are coming up. So it's quite some activities, and we are enabling our leaders to do that. So they have a very, very active role in making sure that they are building up their own succession pipeline, develop themselves and their people.
Right.
Yeah, next to kind of a whole ecosystem around that. Yeah.
I want to ask you a little bit more about that, but you mentioned enabling your leadership, and it just hit me. How do you make sure that your leadership actually follows that strategy?
It's both. It's we use a bit of the strategy of the carrot and the stick, if you wish. boat because we feel a little bit like shepherds. So we have to take our crew of our herd of people leaders along. So the stick is in the targets. So they have real clear targets on developing their people, developing themselves, increasing diversity with a certain percentage we're asking them, and engagement of their teams. So they work basically on growth, succession, engagement, diversity. So those are the KPIs and the targets we give them for their teams. There is a related leadership scorecard with that, which we are taking along, obviously, in the appraisals of the leaders at year end and the feedback we're giving. So that you could say is a little bit a stick. The carrot is obviously if you have a very strong team and you have developed a team, this is pulling them to the next levels because those are the leaders that everybody wants to work for. They are the talent magnets. Those are the leaders where as well the top leaders feel like, wow, they are really shaping and creating value for the company. That's basically the prize or the carrot. The carrot is it's even maybe too low of a word. It's really the prize that you get them because you move them along. So that's
Right.
how we do that. So and this is obviously all linked with very strong leadership development programs. Huh? First
Right.
time leader, mid leader, senior leader. We bring our senior leaders regularly together and the same with our mid leaders. So we have strong engagement with people leaders. It's our
Lovely.
channel. I call it our channel. If we run the business of people, then the
Yeah.
people leader is my channel. It's my go-to
Right.
market, I always say. Yeah.
Right. That
Yeah.
brings me to my last question, which is basically, can you mention some case studies that actually worked for Philips in terms of diversifying their talent pool?
Diversity, you mean, and finding the talent pool. We are, so case studies, let me think about indeed a couple of things which were very successful. We are pretty active in the world outside. So in terms of engaged and diverse communities, whether it's our, for example, in the Netherlands, we work with upcoming GMs, and that's called the Young Captain Network. We have a lot of very active ERGs, whether it's the Black Employee Resource Group or whether it's much more indeed Be the Change community, which are internally, but as well very much linked externally. And that proposition of the employee value proposition, if you wish, is very clear connected internal and external. And that those people are out and they just spread the word. And then those leaders are linked to what is happening in their communities as well on an external perspective. So what we observe is that the word is spreading. So I truly believe that EVP needs to what you say external needs to be valued internal, and then through those ERGs, we are able to attract indeed the different work groups and leveraging it. So I'm not a person of big programs in that. I'm a person of activating people, doing it with people, and making sure that they feel heard, your diverse groups, and they spread the word external. And then obviously I'm joining them, or one of that diversity group, the council at the top leadership is joining them if needed on external events, and they do the same. And so they are engaged as well. So what we did yesterday was spreading the word, for example, on female leadership in this region externally. And I will be later this morning as well in Media City, where we are going to as well go on a radio show there on what we do in this region. So it's being visible is a strategy, but through real proof points and through real people spreading the world. And that's our ability to attract diverse talents. Yeah.
Um, First of all, thank you for the answer. And I know I said it's the last question, but I have follow-up. I'm thinking in tech, healthcare specifically, you actually have to target people in areas for instance, in Southeast Asian. There's a lot of high talent. How do you do that? How do India, for example, is just 1 billion plus. How do you find the talent within all of these people?
Oh, we have very, very strong engagement with universities to start with. So we bring in people from different levels. So we have a very strong young graduate program, and we are at the top universities in India already for years, and continue to do that, bringing people in and grooming them. So that's one. And then secondly, very strong knowledge in the market on where our labor market is and where the talents are.
Mm-hmm.
So our talent acquisition is a very strong community with very strong talent intelligence.
Right.
on where the talent sits. So, and then it's the ability to attract them with the propositions that we are having. And I must say that Philips, our brand, is contributing a lot to that. So when you look at India, yeah, look, everybody knows Philips as a consumer. Eh? Philips is a very well-known and iconic brand. So our purpose, then last but not least, that we're going is really inspiring many, many people. So being out in the market, knowing the labor market, doing that through intelligence, and then indeed the brand, and then leadership capabilities. By the way, that's the last thing, very important, to be able to pitch the storyline when you engage with talents in the role they are landing, or the first role they are landing is. So it's the whole chain actually who needs to click, but we are working on the whole chain. So it's as well hiring manager capabilities in the end as well, who need to
Right.
be able to inspire them to join us. Yeah. Yeah. But we
Right.
are hiring 10,000 people a year. Huh? We have
So,
70,000, 10,000 we're hiring a year. So we it's a big organization who is doing that, and they are super, super strong. I'm very proud of my talent acquisition teams. Yeah. Yeah.
well, thank you very much, Heidi, for your time, and it was really a pleasure speaking with you. And it's a lot to think about, actually. But it was a pleasure. Thank you.
That's likewise. Thanks for your time.